Test, 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 test. Okay, great. I'm Theo Vandenhoff. I'm a synth pop artist and off-key crooner from Toronto. My dad's impact on me has everything to do with the musician I am now. I grew up listening to Kraftwerk and OMD and New Order and Pet Shop Boys and all this sort of like 80s pop music and weird electronic industrial stuff, and that just really shaped my music taste. And then learning that my dad was a musician as well, and hearing stories about him almost making it and then not, and just sort of is one of the main things that inspired me to become a musician myself. And I not that I felt like it was my duty to him, but I just really look up to my dad. I really like him. He's someone who I strive to be. He's very, intelligent and kind, and obviously had a huge influencing on a lot of the things that I like now and a lot of the things that I appreciate in my life. So very important to me for the way that I make my own music. For me, it's just a fascinating era of music starting to become an accessible art form on a wide scale, where not saying that innovation in music doesn't go on right now, but there was just in the mid to late 70s just this explosion of crazy sounds and people who would have never had the opportunity to be musicians before becoming musicians, in a way that just really I find to be sort of the most interesting era of music history for me, and that's why I gravitate to that, is that sort of further freedom of expression with that was but popularized in that era. And then even further than that, the innovations within pop music that went on, because I'd consider myself a pop musician, but people making weird pop songs and those songs getting popular and having one-hit wonders. Devo wasn't a one-hit wonder, but for example, Whip It was huge. Bands like punk bands becoming popular, bands with an edge coming into the mainstream for the first time and then creating pop music, and bands coming from backgrounds of working class families and being sort of involved in that post-punk scene in the UK. I think, for example, OMD very much came out of that UK post-punk scene and then went on to make a lot of pop music that still had that edge and artfulness to it. That's what really brings me into that kind of music. I'm very distractible. So I can't sit through films very well. I watch a lot of awful films because that's the only way I can sit through them sometimes, is if I'm someone who talks through movies. It's hard to watch movies with me. And I understand many people have hated it. But I watch a lot of shitty movies. I wouldn't say that has had an impact on how I write my lyrics, and I don't really think I can pinpoint what has had the largest impact on how I write my lyrics, because I find it hard to like figure out where those lyrics come from sometimes. But yeah, definitely not film, I wouldn't say. I watch a lot of TV shows. Yeah, so I came out of high school like really not knowing what to do and not having good enough grades to get into university, because I didn't really go to class that much throughout the end of high school. And then I sort of just I went into radio, like a radio broadcasting program, just because I thought that fit with what the world I wanted to be involved in, with the music industry and my love of all of that. And then I just found it was essentially just like business school for radio. I was like learning how to write ads, which I actually got a really good grade in that class. I have no idea how, but I did. And then I was learning how to like write non-biased news stories, and that it just didn't feel like a good use of my mental energy, and I just sort of fell out of it. I thought it would be a lot more interesting than it was. And then I started to realize, like, I don't even really listen to radio. Like, who the fuck listens to radio anymore, Like, why am I doing this? So yeah, I just stopped and figured my time would be better spent doing other things, and that's when I recorded the EP. Is after started writing those songs after I had dropped out of college, because that's what I thought the better use for my mental energy was. It was a product of me being terrible at naming things and sending the songs to some of my friends and being like, what lines stand out to you the most, or like what encapsulates you the most. And I had a friend who told me that was like the standout line for that single for him, and I just thought it suited that message well. And it's funny because in the song I kind of used that sarcastically, because the idea is like heartache is an empty room and a lonely place, but it for some reason it also feels like the entire world is like watching your failures, so it's an empty room but you feel like you're being observed, which is like a sort of unique uneasy feeling that you get when you're in that state. Made sense to me to name the EP that. I think it just fit. I think it's also a sentence that is sort of a mantra that's easy to remember and draws you in, and I liked it. So credit goes to my friend Damien on that. Yeah, undertones I actually was an idea that I had in like my last year of high school, and that was the first time that I had written a proper pop song, I'd say. When I was a kid, I used to do write like really shitty songs with an acoustic guitar about like vampires and shit like that. And I really don't remember any of them, and I think there's a reason for that. But that Undertones was like definitely a revelation for me. It was the most sort of fulfillment I'd ever gotten from creating a piece of music, and I felt like I could really just take that and keep writing songs like that, and it made me feel motivated and sort of in love with writing music, when everything I'd done before I was never really all that happy with. It was hugely important to me to include that as an homage to my father's influence on me, because I've got to give credit where credit is due, and without sort of his influence on my taste and throughout my life, and his like support, um, I I had been a competitive soccer player for a while in high school, and I was at the stage where it was coming up to the point where like you're going to showcase tournaments in the States, and like you're getting schools to scout you, and you're training like almost every single day. And it just took over my entire life, and I hated it because I just didn't feel like that was my identity, and I didn't relate to anybody else on my team. They all thought I was like strange, and that I had strange interest to them, and listened to weird music. And I just my dad was one of the, I think, the first person I told that I wanted to stop playing, and I just wanted to do music, and he was fully so supportive of me. And now I feel like so much better in my mental state now that I'm doing this. So definitely, definitely important to have an homage to him on there. Um, and that song means a lot to me as well, especially being in a transitory phase in my life, and feeling like I'm making an attempt to grow to my potential. Really suits that theme. So that's why I thought choosing that one would be all right, would be the right choice. And I sent that to him, and it wasn't even the finalized version. It was like one of the first drafts that I did, and he texted me like that he was in tears and he loved it, and at that moment, like, I knew that I was, I was doing something good. I was going, and maybe he's biased, but but it felt good. Especially, I like haven't seen my dad be emotionally vulnerable many times before, so it felt good. Yeah. Yeah, essentially what happened is he'd been my guitar teacher when I was a kid, and he moved to the West Coast for a while with his partner, and they have their band, Twin Rains, and they do their own stuff. And then he came back, and at that point, I had been at that segment of my life where I'd stopped playing soccer and spending all my time on that, and I sort of needed another use for my time, because I knew that school. I actually, no, that's misinformation. I had just dropped out of college, and he'd moved back, and I needed like a use for my sort of mental energy that wasn't just staying at home and doing nothing, because I find it really hard to motivate myself when I don't have a schedule. I was just sitting, doing nothing, just like getting stoned all the time. And we started sort of doing production lessons together, where like I was just going, and he was teaching me sort of how to make my own ideas sound good, better than I could. And then eventually I guess he really liked the songs, and he was like, and naturally the EP just came together from that, of all those songs that were sort of just experiments, and then we turned into a fully fledged final product, and we were really, really happy with it, and we thought it was really, really good, and we wanted to share it with the world. And it just went from there. I find that hard to pinpoint because Jay has given me so much invaluable knowledge. Like it releasing this on my own, I would have been so lost without him. I had no idea. I'd never released anything before. I'd never really been a part of the music scene. Like I had, yeah, I would have been. I would have been so lost. I really have all credit goes to him, um, because I could not have just knowing like the right people to reach out to and the way to do things that's like the correct way, which I was pretty I wanted to do, because whenever I do anything I want to do it the right way, but he just gave me all that guidance. That was another product of Jay helping me out, because he knew Will and Desiree, Will from World News and Desiree from Cali Horse at Safe Sounds, and he sent the EP off to them, and they I guess they really liked it, and it excited them, which I was happy to hear. And we had a call and a chat about it, and started hanging out, and just got together one night and drafted out sort of a game plan where it was like, all right, we've got the EP and we're releasing it in a month, and these are all the things to do before then, and just got it out there. And they've been a huge help as well. But yeah, all credit again goes to Jay for helping me with that. I'm a very visceral performer. I get lost in the music. That's just the way I like to do it. It doesn't, like, my performances won't sound like the recordings, but that's not really what I'm going for. I try to draft out sort of completely different versions of the songs with a guitarist and a bassist on each track that have more energy, that suit a live setting more, and then I sort of just get lost in the moment, and whatever happens. Well, thank you.